Building a family can be a complicated, messy, lonely, and sometimes heartbreaking process. But you don't have to navigate this challenging journey alone.
Welcome to the All Paths podcast, where we support and celebrate all of the different ways there are to try to grow your family. We are your hosts, Kate and Emily from the nonprofit organization All Paths Family Building. And today we're talking with our friend Kristin Dillensnyder about her journey and her work in this space. Kristin, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. It's always so fun to talk to people in this space.
Well, we are so excited to get to know you even more. So before we get into your own story in more detail, we'd love for you to just introduce yourself to our listeners.
Yeah, hi. So I'm Kristin Dillensnyder. I live in South Carolina. I was a military spouse when I went through IVF and infertility. My husband is now retired after 20 years. So we're living in a totally different world in that way. And I am a mother because of IVF. And I will share a little bit more about the details about what I went through. And after my experience of doing that, I felt like this was a space I wanted to stay in and be the person that I felt like I needed through my journey. And so I started my own business called Empowered Infertility, and I do coaching, and I'm sort of like the best friend. And one of my clients called me her god sister, her fairy god sister. And I love that because I was like,
the
yes,
best compliment ever.
I know I'm not too old to be her mother, right? But like,
Right.
so I was like, I totally appreciated that. But I am the person you lean on when you're going through the ups and downs and the waiting, the starts and stops of IVF, no matter how long it takes. And I also advocate because, that journey has changed a lot too since I started. But here I am, and I'm so glad to talk to you. I also do have my own podcast. It's called More Than Your Infertility, because one of the things that I see is so many people become consumed with their infertility. And I was often reminding people, like, you can give your infertility journey and your IVF experience like 110%, and still there's so much more that makes up who you are. And this is not your only identity. So that's my podcast. But I'm so glad to be here and talk with you guys today.
I love it. And I also just want to add, you're also very nurturing and awesome on social media as well. So hopefully people are following you on social media. If they're not already, they should.
Oh yeah, please do. That's like where I'm very active. I love to have conversations and DMs. I feel like ever since I started my own infertility, when I found anybody who'd done IUIs or anything related to art, I was like, are we best friends? Oh my God. Okay, let's talk. Like, and I would like pull them to the side and be like, okay, tell me everything you want to tell me. Like, what's your doctor and what's it been like? And what about the side effects? And I still feel that way. So I just think that so many of us do go through it silently and not very openly. Like, we don't have a sign on our forehead that says, oh, hey, I'm going through IVF. And so when you find somebody who does understand the lingo and the language, it's like an instant connection. And I love that social media helps me. But Kate, I don't know if you know, mine started as a finsta. Okay. So I had a fake Instagram account that was like a sort of arbitrary name so that I could hide my identity and share my own infertility account. And then once I was done trying to conceive, I changed it, and that's now what's become my business account. And so, yeah, it started as a finsta.
That's so cool. And there's so many people who do that. I mean, you can curate your feed. You're not seeing like friends and family members and baby shower invites popping up all the time. It's nice to have that layer of anonymity sometimes.
Yeah. The challenge is, I don't know if you've noticed this with your own Instagram account, but sometimes it now says, hey, you might know this person because of the cell phone it's linked to. And my gosh, when that happened, I lost it because it was recommending people in my world who were not supposed to know, saying like, so I was getting friend requests from people I knew. And I was like, how the heck did they find it? Because they were not going through infertility. Like, it was not the algorithm. And then when I would see other friends, it would say, oh, you might know this person. I lost it. It was like, oh my gosh. So in hindsight, I would have gotten like a Google phone number, and I would have made that account connected through that Google phone number. So it really wasn't attached to anything. But now I clearly will tell anybody about my story. So funny how things change.
I love it. Well, and I'm sure we'll get to that whole decision-making process about like who was in the inner circle and who wasn't. But for right now, let's maybe rewind it all the way back to the beginning. Okay. And where did your journey to starting a family begin?
Great question. So the really interesting part was that I was married to somebody else before, and then I got unmarried. And so I have been in the world of my life is not happening on time or as it should be before I even tried to conceive, right? So I think that's really interesting because I didn't get remarried to my husband until I was, how old was I? I was 35. So I was like advanced maternal age and I was older. But literally, as soon as we got married, it was like, hi, I'm going straight to the doctor. And I'm going to say, I've wanted to be a mother for maybe 9 years or my whole life. And help me figure out what I need to do to make sure we're okay. Like, just give me the all clear, right? Like, just let me know everything's okay. And so I did the dye test, the HSG test to make sure that the tubes were open and there were 2 ovaries and all of that jazz. And I got like the all good. Though, because of my age and because of where we were at, we wanted to start sort of right away. So he was like, you could do IUIs, like you could try it and that would help your get faster. So we're like, all right, let's do it. So we did a couple IUIs without success. And that was at the local OB-GYN so I lived in Montgomery at the moment because my husband was active duty military. And then when that didn't work, and then I was 36, he was like, if you want to move a little faster, I'd recommend going to IVF. And I felt like that was the big guns. Like, we're bringing in like the answer, the solution. But he also recommended, because we were military, he said there's actually a military doctor who works at a clinic in Birmingham. So that's about an hour and a half away. And he was like, so I might recommend that you go there. And I was like, okay. And it was at UAB, which is a teaching hospital. So I really like that because I'm also from Connecticut. And so we always went to Yale for everything. Like it was like Yale, New Haven, like, teaching hospital, same thing. So I was like, all right, let's do it. And we ended up doing 3 rounds of IVF. The first round did not work. The second round worked and gave us our daughter, which was amazing. And the third round ended up in a miscarriage. And so I actually experienced sort of all the outcomes. I didn't have beta hell, which I now learned about. That's just another horrible outcome that is possible. But since I've been doing the coaching business for now almost 7 years, I've experienced that through, my clients and just knowing people in the world and the industry. The whole time, my husband was in the military and we were in a city and a state where we didn't know a lot of people. So I felt what was so challenging for me was that I felt so isolated and alone, and we had to pay 100% out of pocket. So the other thing that I didn't know was I didn't know that IVF wouldn't work. Like I went in like, oh, you do IVF. And okay, do you want to hear an embarrassing confession?
Always. And it's probably not that embarrassing.
Well, I'm like literally blushing just thinking about it, but I am the oldest of 3 girls and we are all 18 months apart and we're very close. And I was the last one to become a parent, which was in and of itself a challenge. But when we were younger, when we were in our 20s and we all lived in New York City together and we were working together and living together, it was like so fun. I offered to be a surrogate for them in case any of them had trouble conceiving.
That was very kind of
that
you.
That is not, that is not embarrassing.
But you guys, they didn't have any trouble.
I know. I will say it's ironic, but it was well-meaning and maybe a little presumptuous. I think you thought you were going to have no problem.
Yeah.
But I mean, who isn't presumptuous when they're in their 20s? Come on.
Right. For sure. Well, and how much have we all learned, right? What not to say once we've gone through the experience. Exactly, Kate. I'm so glad you said that. My mom, when we were growing up, my mom always said, oh yeah, I just looked at your dad 3 times and popped out a baby and popped out a baby. So infertility, while I knew about it and obviously knew about surrogacy, being willing to offer my womb to my sisters, I didn't even think that was going to be part of our story. And so it caught me a lot off guard. I think because I got unmarried and I sort of moved backwards in the stages of life. Listen, it's all worked out. I'm with the best person ever. I can't imagine what my life would look like if it didn't go the way it did. So I'm so grateful for everything, but it did feel backwards at the time, right? I was getting unmarried and breaking apart a relationship of many, many years when my friends then were like having babies and growing their families and mine was falling apart. And so it felt backwards at the time. It laid the groundwork for me to be able to handle infertility and IVF a lot better. So I am grateful for it in that way. It also taught me to say, I need help. It helped me learn to say, or to practice, not always showing the best story of my life and saying, oh, look, there are some challenges going on and this is a hard part of my life. So, it does work out in the end. And I truly believe that. And if you don't feel like life is good, then it's not the end. Like, keep going.
I like it. But I just want to say, in terms of talking the truth about the challenges, struggling to grow your family is difficult no matter what. But when you're in a new area or a new-ish area where you don't have a lot of social supports, and we know, unfortunately, still fertility and family building support, certainly at that time, was not even where it is now, and there could be more now as well. And then the insurance piece of having to pay out of pocket for this, that's many layers of additional challenges to something that's already challenging. So did you find supports, and in what way did you find it?
Great question. I found support. I looked for some. That's how I found Resolve, somehow through some of the searches. And Resolve did not have a local group in Montgomery, Alabama. And so that was not a solution for me, but that's why I had a fake Instagram account. So it was called TTC Kiki because Kiki is one of my nicknames. And so some people still call me Kiki, like some of my friends that I met, because that was started in 2015, 2016. So 10 years, they still call me Kiki. And that's also my auntie name. But I had that Instagram account. That was a huge help for me. The challenge was, and I might sound like a diva saying this, but everything was hitting some part, but nothing was the complete, like nothing filled in the gap completely. There was someone I knew from church who then told me about their church that they actually had an infertility support group that met once a month, and it was open to anybody. You didn't have to be a member of that church to go to it. And so I did go to that. So I did find some in-person people. And then I did the Instagram account where I found people from all over the world. And that's how I found the support, sort of from strangers, but people in the village with me. My friends were amazing, that the ones that I opened up to, they just weren't local. And because I was new in Montgomery, and they also were popping out babies left and right. So no matter if they did everything right, it was still so triggering sometimes because their life was looking so good. And mine felt, again, like the word I always said was like, I'm going backwards or I'm stuck. And so that was very challenging. So I'm grateful that I had supportive, kind friends who tried their hardest. We were all just learning the hard way. My sisters were really good. And in fact, I was just talking to my sister. I'm going to interview her on my podcast because now that we're like so far beyond, I want to talk to her about her perspective and what it was like and maybe what she would do differently. And also I've learned what I would do differently as a sister to say, well, my sisters are popping out babies left and right. Same thing. So I'm excited for that one. That's a little tease. And you asked about the inner circle. It was really interesting how I was open to anybody who'd been through infertility or anything like that. I was like, oh, here's my whole life diary. Professionally, I was working at an advertising agency and I didn't want people at work to know. I let maybe one or two people know, only because they needed to know why I would have a whole day blocked and I couldn't have meetings. Because I worked at a business where it was like anybody could put a meeting on your calendar as long as it was open. And so to see a whole day blocked, it was like, wait, what's going on? So I had to let two people know. And they were very nice and supportive, but it was the very baseline. And I really loved spending time at the clinic. So as hard as it was to like drive the hour and a half, like I never wanted to leave. I literally felt like I was always trying to be like, well, what about this? And and trying to keep talking because I just wanted to talk to them even longer. And I mean, I would talk to the nurse about her boyfriend and like we would talk about anything else. It wasn't just about me and my stuff. I loved trying to get deep and learn about everybody's life, but I just wanted to, I recognized that I caught myself always wanting to stay there. And so it was always hard to then leave, to then get in the car for an hour and a half, to then get to work and act like I hadn't been up for 4 hours yet. So that's kind of why I started my business, because I love support groups, because you're meeting people, you're recognizing that you're not alone. But I always felt a little triggered by some of the really bad stories. You know, everybody's at different walks of the infertility life. And so the new person who's thinking IVF is the answer is excited and hopeful. But then you've got the long hauler who hasn't had success yet and who's been in it, who's talking a totally different language. And it can kind of pop the bubble and pop the balloon of joy. And I was then aware of things I didn't know I needed to be worried about. And that was always then scary. I was like, what else should I worry about? So I felt like I love the support groups and I went to it, but it was as draining as it was exciting to see people. Like, so I felt like I needed a little bit more where I wasn't going to get triggered.
Yeah, those one-on-one conversations where it can just be about your story can be really helpful.
Yeah.
So how was your experience doing this military connected? I mean, it sounds like, an hour and a half drive is a lot, but from some people we've talked to, like, you were pretty lucky to be that close, close in quotation marks, to a clinic that was able to work with TriCare, or, I know you said you paid out of pocket.
No, I still had to pay 100% out of pocket.
Okay.
Yeah. So the difference was that just the doctor who was overseeing the whole practice and clinic and training, he was a military, like he had been in the military previously.
Oh, okay.
And so that's why my OB-GYN was like, oh, yeah, I think you'll like to go to him. They could have been best friends. That could have just been the line he said. I was at the stage where you tell me to jump, I will do it. Like, okay, tell me how high. So yeah, I am lucky in the sense that it was only a car ride, right? And it was reasonable that I could go in the morning and come back and like still make it to work. I did have to leave my house at like 4:30 in the 5 o'clock in the morning so I could be the first appointment, so I could come back and make it to work. Because I did have a job where it's like you had to be butt in seat kind of thing. I'm so grateful that I think the world and society has changed significantly since COVID, where that is not as much the case for as many office workers. So there can be some flexibility of like, oh, if I don't come in till 9:30, well, then I just work through my lunch or stay a little bit later. The military aspect was disappointing only because, one, they didn't pay. And two, even though they talk so proudly about their coverage and how much they take care of the military. And so that felt really hard. The second part was that because we were new there and new to this place, I was an extra on Army Wives. That's like a little side bit, which was really fun. Oh yeah, so fun. I used to watch that show with one of my sisters when we lived in New York City, because her now husband was her boyfriend and he was serving overseas for the Army. And so we would watch that TV, Army Wives, just as like our way to sort of like connect and feel like, so that was sort of my perception of what like military life was like. And then we moved to Alabama and I was like, I'm ready for my casseroles and like, I'm ready for like the village. And we didn't have that. We didn't live on base, so that could be part of it, but it wasn't there. It didn't match up to any of that.
Sorry.
It's okay. I did end up meeting some friends who lived on our street who were military. The only difference was their husbands were officers and my husband was enlisted. And for people who don't know this, which included me until it happened to me, officers and enlisted people are sort of two different tracks within the military, and they obviously work together, but they're not really supposed to socialize together. So I was able to talk to anybody and socialize with them, but my husband did not feel comfortable to like go over to their houses and socialize with the husbands. And so it was very like, I would have my girl time, but it wasn't like couple time. Does that make sense?
It's hard to like have everybody over for dinner if it's that awkward vibe.
Yeah, right. So again, it was like all these parts were like there and present, and I was telling a lot of people, but like there was always like just this piece missing with all of it. And so I did create a village of people. Again, my parents were supportive, my friends and sisters. I didn't tell people really mostly in person, again, because I was living somewhere where I didn't know that many people. And then our church had people who would sit up at the front during like communion, and they would be like the prayer people, which I didn't have in my church growing up. So I'd never seen that before, but you could go up to them at any point and you could like kneel down and say like, can you pray for this? Or I'm asking for prayers about this. And so I'm not a super religious person. I don't talk about it all the time, but again, tell me to jump, and going through infertility, like you'll do anything and everything. But so I did go up to them and sometimes say like, hey, we're trying to grow our family. I could use like the prayers for that. And I also remember talking to the pastor to say, what do you guys think about IVF? Because in the Catholic Church, it's not as, awesomely supported. And so he said that there wasn't like, because we were going to an Anglican church, he was saying there wasn't like a full on public like statement on where they felt, but he believed that, God created people who had the science and this ability. And so that if that's available to improve your quality of life, then it should be a tool that's used. So that was another thing that I sort of silently battled and never could talk to anybody about. Like, how do you talk about religion and God and this thing you need to do? And like, can you ask the prayer warriors to like help you through IVF? Or are they going to be judging you because that's not supported? So it's like, it's all these little silent levels of fear and judgment and worry through every step of your life when you're going through infertility. And that's what I experienced. Just like probably anybody listening knows, they've got it in their own world.
Yeah. Yeah, I so agree. So when did you shift gears professionally from the advertising business to your coaching business, to your own coaching business?
So during maternity leave, I was like, I still was on Instagram like all the time, supporting all the people I had been connected with. And about when my daughter wasn't even 6 months old, and I came up with an idea because I was like, the hardest part of the whole IVF experience is the 2-week wait, because you've done everything. You can't do a thing to change the outcome, and all you can do is wait. And how long does it take to even get to that stage is so long, right? It's months and years. It's bruises and needles and surgeries and bills and so much. It takes so much to get to the 2-week wait. And some people don't even ever get to the 2-week wait, right? And so it takes so much to get to the 2-week wait. And then you can't do anything about it, and you just have to wait and see. And like, I literally have chills just thinking about how awful that experience is. And I had plenty because we did 4 IUIs. And so I had 2-week waits during the IUIs, which was the same and different. And then I had done 3 total with IVF. So I had enough experience with the 2-week wait that I hated it. I also am on team don't pee on a stick. I feel very okay.
Yes.
Yes. All right, you're my people.
I think we're in the minority, but
yeah, it is not worth it at all. At all. The extra dips, not worth it.
Nope. Although I will say that's now my biggest regret. I have never seen a positive pregnancy test. I should have once it was confirmed. Then I should have peed on a stick just so I could have been like, that's
what I did.
I should have
done that. You didn't do it.
I think I was still just too overwhelmed with everything.
Well, and probably the trauma just of like,
like there's the little voice in the back of your head being like, but what if it is negative?
Right. Or what if it's not strong enough? And then it tells you like, Yep. Or like, it doesn't say very pregnant, it says like not, you're like, I get it. Listen, I understand. So yes, if anybody's listening and they're still they're in their 2-week wait, don't pee on a stick until you get the positive beta. Like the day you get the positive beta, so then pee on the stick. So you have it, you have the photo, you have the memory for sure. Oh, Emily, I'm sorry you missed out on that.
That's okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I am on team don't pee on a stick. But I kept thinking, how do I help? How do I help these people? So I came up with the 2-week wait challenge. So that literally was created in like 2018, where every day for the 2-week wait, you could sign up and you could get a daily email from me that had some way to keep you busy and positive and hopeful. And it's funny because I didn't know that then, but now I know after, again, all of these years of doing it and coaching, like there have been hundreds and hundreds of women who've gone through the 2-week wait challenge. Everybody starts out really high and hopeful, like, oh, this is it, it's worked. And then by day 4-ish, day 4 or 5, that's when everybody sort of flips into the, oh my God, it didn't work. And so the 2-week wait challenge is more powerful because it's tools to help you stay a little bit higher and at that hopeful stage for longer. And so it's fun, cool things. It's changed over the years. Like I've added things now that I got certified as a life coach, and I'd like to think I've read the whole internet about, self-help and improvement skills. So it's included with now things that are actually proven to help you stay hopeful and keep your emotions on a high vibration. Because ultimately you won't know until you get the call from your doctor. And so you get to choose how you spend your time, and you get to choose to think, I'm going to, symptom check everything, or I'm going to choose to believe I'm pregnant until they tell me otherwise. And so that's when the 2-week wait challenge started. And that was like my thing. And I was like, yeah. And then I was like, but I need more, like, I want to do more. And I didn't even know about coaching, or what that was. So I ended up finding a coach who was actually she was helping people who were just feeling like their life should be more, which is a cool way to look through life, to say like, I want more. I like this, but I want more. And so I was working with that coach, and I was like, well, I guess I could help people through divorce since I've done that, I was like, I am a big sister. So my first website was called Big Sis Says, because I really just wanted to help people through all the challenges, to say like, I've learned the hard way, so you don't have to. But there was just this constant tug of like, the infertility community feels like my community. Like I also didn't want to talk about my ex like ever again. Right. So I was like, if I do that, I'm going to have to mention him and think about him all the time. And I didn't want to do that. So it was easy to say, I'm going to go through infertility. And I decided to do one-on-one coaching and to be the person that I wanted. And what that was a person who understood all the lingo and language. Because when I was talking to my friends, I had to spend half of the conversation educating them. And then I felt like I wasn't getting the support that I needed, or I wasn't getting to the emotions, because I had to educate them what an IUI was versus IVF, or what the egg retrieval means. And so and that's why I like talking to doctors and nurses. I didn't have to say any of that stuff to them. So I wanted to be somebody like that, sort of the in between. So you're with the doctors and the nurses, but that's like an hour of your day. And there's still 23 hours left of your day where your mind is spinning and spiraling and thinking. And so I wanted to be the person to not only understand what that was, so you didn't have to educate yourself. I could practically finish your sentence on how you're feeling, but I could also almost be like the real estate agent and let you know like what's coming down the road. Like, okay, here's what's next. You could do this or you could do that. And then also using coaching and just life skills, that there are better and there are different ways to cope. And usually what we have used up until our lives, there's a point where it stops working in every area. And so I work with a lot of people where infertility is usually the first time in their life that life is not working out as they thought it would. And that their coping tools are not doing it. They're not making the cut anymore. And so I decided to be the person. And so I talked to my clinic and I told them that this is what I was doing, because I was friends with all of them. So I was like, hey, this is what I'm doing now. And it's complementary to the doctors. So one of the biggest things that I have to talk about is there are fertility coaches. And I don't call myself a fertility coach. I call myself an IVF mindset coach, because I don't talk about supplements. I don't talk about like protocols. I'm not pretending I've gone to all that school that the double board certified REIs have. I feel that my lane is the mindset part, and that we can't control what's going on with our bodies in that sense, but I help the people handle whatever it is that comes their way. So I told them that that's what I kind of wanted to do. And so they like mentioned me to a couple of their patients, and that's sort of how it got started.
Oh, awesome.
That's the long version.
I love that. I love that. No, that was perfect. And so is the 2-week wait challenge like accessible to all, or is now you have, Oh, okay. I'm like, I didn't know if you had to be a client of yours.
No, so the
Cool.
2 week wait challenge is a totally free resource. So if
Oh,
anybody's going
cool.
through it, it's
So we'll link
amazing.
to it.
Yeah, it's so good. Some of the clinics and doctors, send their patients through because it is a nice way to kind of hold your hand. Most people say they love waking up in the morning and like getting the email to say like, okay, I'm going to start my
What's
day with
today?
that like one little
I
nugget.
love
So
that.
yeah,
I want to
no,
go
it's
back.
totally free.
I want to go back in time and have that.
Well, if you ever
I
have a
know.
period where you have to wait, you could totally do it.
True.
Just
I could use it for something else. That's
yeah.
true. That would be really cool, actually,
And
to
I'm
try it
actually going to
in a
upgrade
different
it.
context. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, the other part is, and I haven't done this yet, but the next 2 week wait is once you get the positive beta, then you have to wait 2 weeks until the ultrasound.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just
Oh.
tell people to reread all those emails and like go through
Hmm.
it and do it again. And I'll just tell you my favorite one of the activities is to do something nice for somebody else. Because
I
what I
love
found
that.
when I was in the 2 week wait, I was like, oh my God, but what if it works? And what if it doesn't work? But I've tried so hard and I don't deserve this. And it was so I, and me. And I was like, ugh, it's kind of gross. It felt icky or sus, like my daughter would say now. So I did something nice for like a neighbor and I brought like a dinner over and I felt so freaking good. And
I
it
love
distracted
that.
me for the whole time that I was shopping and cooking and bringing it over. And so I kept trying that over and over and again and it works. It always works. And
Awesome.
so,
Love it.
yeah, try that. When you're in a mood and you're just not feeling it, like think of someone else and something kind you could do. It doesn't have to be the level of cooking. You could literally just send a text to somebody to say, thinking about you. Like that's enough. But it's amazing how good you can feel when you're taking care of others.
That's great. Well, okay. Now I have to ask you about advocacy because I am just so excited about the advocacy trajectory that you are on and continuing to be on. So I would love to hear your description of your evolution as an advocate.
So it started because, again, I was doing IVF in 2015-16 and TriCare was not paying. So I had to pay 100% out of pocket. And I recognized my privilege. And so my advocacy started with, I think it's BS that infertility is limited to people who either have the insurance coverage or have the access to pay out of pocket. And so that's how it started. Unfortunately, the world has changed. And now I feel like my advocacy efforts are fighting to keep the medical care available for the people who need it, no matter who it is. And I don't think it should matter where you live. I don't think it should matter what your family looks like. We know that infertility does not discriminate. And while it doesn't discriminate, access to care is discriminated, or limited. Like, why? And so that's sort of how it's changed. I hate politics, hate it. I cannot believe that I'm here. Actually, my ex was involved in politics. And so when I got rid of him, I was like, we're done. And so now here I am again. And I'm like, ugh. I feel like I know nothing, yet I recognize I do know a little bit more than other people. And that is where talking about what I've learned can be really helpful and powerful because it's not on my shoulders. I'm an Enneagram 2, so I feel like it's my job to save the world and everybody. And so with what's happening in South Carolina, there's a reason why I live here. This is not where I'm from. I don't have family here. There's a reason why I live here and why I have this big voice. And it has to be to speak on behalf of other people. Because the other thing that I realized was when I was going through IVF, I was using every ounce of my energy to just show up and not cry. And I didn't have the capacity to advocate. There's no way I could have when I was going through it. And so I'm on the other side. And so it's like that visual of the woman who climbs the wall and then turns around and lifts up. That's me, but I'm also doing it with a bullhorn that's saying where are the stairs? Get the stairs for everyone. That's the way I feel. So I advocate for the people who are still in the fight and the people who don't even know they're going to be going through infertility. I'm speaking for them on their behalf. And then also because I really think that medical care should be available to anybody who needs it.
What a revolutionary idea. That's such a revolutionary idea. Yeah. And the other thing that is great is, like I was saying it was great, and it's not greatness, the fights we're having, but I feel like you are a natural, and also just that this is a team sport. You don't have to do it alone, which is so good, I think, especially for people that don't necessarily like it or want to do it or have never done it before or all of the above. And so I know we're so proud that you're part of the State Strong Coalition, which All Paths is one of the founders of that. And I know, and I'm not saying this because it was me personally, but I feel like our State Strong family helped you a lot to feel ready to fight this really terrible bill in South Carolina. So it doesn't have to be specifically about State Strong, but can you talk about sort of the pretty quick activation that had to happen to fight against this bill in South Carolina, which is unfortunately still in the mix?
Yeah, it is still in the mix, unfortunately. So there is a Senate bill in South Carolina called S323, and it is a total abortion ban. So South Carolina right now has a 6-week abortion ban with exceptions. This ban is worse. It's taking away all exceptions, and it's not even allowing it up until 6 weeks. It's also criminally charging the woman, anybody who helps the person, whether they're providing information or are actually performing the procedure, and up to 30 years of jail time for anything related. So it's pretty awful. It's actually like people on both sides of the aisle don't like it. Kate, I did, thank goodness, because I'm involved in State Strong. It's sort of like, you know how every little piece, it doesn't make sense when it's happening. And a lot of times you're like, oh, why this? Why this? Or why is it so hard? And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I sort of had that feeling. I don't like politics. I thought I got rid of it. Right. And then it felt so good to advocate, knowing that I had that privilege and this voice to do this on behalf of other people. And I started small. And I think everybody needs to start small. You don't just all of a sudden never pay attention to politics, which again comes from privilege. And I recognize that I'm doing all of my own work related. But you don't just start small and then all of a sudden find yourself like at the pulpit speaking in front of the legislature. You start small by joining with Resolve, right? And following accounts and learning a little bit more of the lingo, and maybe filling out those forms that your friends send you where it's like all the text is there. You just put in your zip code and your address and the salutation you like, right? And so you start there. And that's how I started. I took the easy route, and that's okay. So I have been slowly, though, building the muscle of speaking my voice and asking for what we need and calling some people out and slowly working it out. Now, this is very cool personally, but also professionally. I've worked with Resolve and Wren, which is an organization in South Carolina, where I've been interviewed by the BBC and USA Today, and I've called out our senators saying, you say you're all about pro-family, like when Roe v. Wade got overturned. And so it's like that muscle has gotten stronger and stronger over time. And then this S323 bill in South Carolina came about, and there was a hearing that they were having outside of session. So it seemed really under the sly. And because I'm involved in State Strong, I had been hearing what some of the women had done in other states. And remember how I called myself like big sis, like I learned the hard way so you don't have to? I immediately was able to learn from the women who have started their own coalitions or advocacy groups in their states. And I just mimicked what they did. I created a Facebook group. I love Canva. I made my own Facebook header and I shared it with 10 people, and I asked them to ask 10 people, and I started just copying and pasting what I was getting from the organizations that have the feet on the ground and know the political lingo and the players. Like, I don't even know all the senators' names on the Medical Affairs Committee. I don't need to. But what I need to do is, or what I feel really called to do, is help other women like me who don't know or understand the political environment so much, but help them put their words out there and take some action and simplify it, and to say, hey, this is what's going on. Here's all the big stuff. And here's what you can do today. Ask 5 people to join our Facebook group. And tomorrow it's like, okay, today what you can do is make the phone call. And one of the things is asking your husband to also participate. Like, we need the men in our lives to also be, that's one of my disappointments is there was a really good showing at the South Carolina day of this hearing. And there were like almost 400 people who volunteered to testify against this bill. I don't know how many in favor. I don't know how many signed up in favor of it. Like, I don't know that total number, but I will tell you, because I was in the room and my number didn't get called. It was too high of a number, but it was so many couples. So it was the man spoke in favor of the bill, and then the spouse, the wife, spoke in favor of the bill. And what that tells me was that there weren't as many people trying to get a number, because it was like, oh, hey, you fill it, I'll fill it in, then you fill it in, right? Oh, let's do this together. As opposed to like 400, like out of the people I know, there was like one couple. So it was like 400 different, households. So there was so much energy, and it was amazing. There was a rally outside. Hundreds and hundreds of people came. So the energy was really good. It was really hard, though, to listen to everybody share their trauma and their sob stories on why they shouldn't support the bill. And so that was really hard. So it was a tough day. But the other thing was that it was mostly women. And I just wish there were more men, because it's a stereotype, but I think they listen to men more. And so there are different ways to get involved. You can use one of those forms, like you can copy and paste it. In my Facebook group, I've put sort of a template so you can copy it. You can do that and just copy and paste. You can also write your own. You can also just tell people about it. You can send in a postcard. Like, you could just say, vote no. You don't have to you don't have to share more information than you want. You don't have to say everything you've been through. But I think taking action is something I've learned time and time again, helps us feel like we're in control and helps us feel better. And when you're going through infertility and everything feels out of your control, this is something that you can do.
I love it. And even those pre-prepared templates, just if you just personalize them a little bit, that really makes them stand out and not just get, dismissed as a pre-made letter. So I know we're running out of time, and I want to make sure
I know, but we have so much more to talk about.
I know. We're going to need an episode 2 with you, I think, or we'll need to be guests on your podcast. But I just wanted to say, are there actions that people can take? There's something people could do before the November 18th hearing.
Yes. So we need people to talk about it, because I actually was meeting with the clinic in Charlotte, North Carolina, which is, for anybody who doesn't know, Charlotte is right on the border of South Carolina. So there are actually a lot of people who live in South Carolina and then go to a North Carolina clinic to receive their IVF care. And so I was meeting with them just to talk about my work and my coaching. And I was like, oh my God, can you believe what's going on in South Carolina? They're like, what are you talking about? And they didn't even know, but it impacts them. So the big message is we need people to talk about this, because this doesn't just apply to people in South Carolina. What's going to happen is that they will use South Carolina as an example, and then all the other red states will follow along, and they will follow the language, and they will say this passed in South Carolina, and then they will keep doing it state by state by state. And so it doesn't matter if you don't live here. You need to talk about it, and we need people to pay attention, because it needs to stop before it goes any farther. My understanding is that the next hearing is November 18th. They are not listening to testimony. So I don't know I don't even know what that looks like. I don't need to know, but we need to be loud so they understand that this is not okay. We already have a very strict abortion ban. Like, abortion's already limited. Let's just leave it as is. Let's not go for. This is an extreme group of people who want a very extreme law to be passed, and the majority of people do not support it. And we need our lawmakers to know that the majority of people don't like it. So the first thing is talk about it with anyone and everyone. I don't care where you live. Now, if you especially know people in South Carolina, yes. The second thing to do is to contact your legislator. So if you live in South Carolina, your South Carolina state senator, and then also the medical affairs committee, and also the person who is the head of the Senate. I can't even remember the name of that title right now. That's how little I know about politics. Like,
well, it varies. So I don't know, but probably
Oh.
Senate president or senator pro tem. They call it
Yeah,
different
something
things
like
in
that.
different
Yeah.
states. Yeah.
So, because we need him to know too, to be like, whoa, this is a big deal. So, those are the people to message out. And it can be as simple as that you don't have to air your laundry or your story. All you have to say is, I'm someone who lives in your district, who lives in South Carolina, and I do not support this bill. Vote no. Don't let it go any further. Like, it could be that short of a sentence and that simple. You don't have to say because of this, because of this, because of this. At the end of the day, the extreme senators aren't going to listen. What we're hoping to do is find the people who are more the middle of the ground to say, hey, look, we have an abortion ban. It's good enough. We don't need to add more. And so tell everybody, reach out, whether it's phone call or email, and do it every day. It can be so scary. I did a video with Resolve where I literally recorded myself making the phone call because I was nervous. So remember how I said you just start small and you just, strengthen that muscle. So maybe you do it with a friend next to you. Maybe you just do emails because that's what feels good. And then the other thing is tell people that I have this Facebook group so they can find me, and we'll put a link to it in the show notes. So you don't have to live in South Carolina to be in the Facebook group. You just have to be somebody who wants to keep access to IVF care available to anyone who needs it.
I love it. And those are some really great concrete examples that anybody, no matter what your comfort level with advocacy is, can jump right in and get started.
Yeah. I mean, and the simple thing is like follow accounts, follow Wren, follow, you guys share it. Resolve has been talking about it. Like, you can just share the social media posts. I love how Instagram now has that new thing where it's like the rotating like square with arrows. So you can like share it so other people, it shows up in their feed. Like, do that. Like, there's ways that you can be involved at that's like the low hanging fruit, right? Just do that. Share their posts. We have people at State Strong are sharing about it. And then State Strong is tagging other people. Like, follow some of those accounts so you can hear some of the language and spread the news. Like their posts so that other people see it, right? Comment and just be like clapping for you so that other people see it. Like, those are ways that you can help out. And then the other thing is keep having joy in your life. Like, joy is a form of resistance. Like, live your life, have fun, right? This isn't a full-time job for anybody. It takes 3 minutes and then you're good for the day.
I love it. So, I mean, we could talk to you forever, but we do need to wrap up. So there are 2 questions that we ask all of our guests, and we'd love to get your take on these. The first is, what's one thing that you would say to someone who is just starting out trying to grow their family? And the second is, how can someone show up for a friend or family member who is struggling?
Okay. The first thing is that it's not going to look like you think. And our attachment to expectations and how we feel when those expectations are not met is always disappointment. It always feels disappointing when it's not met. So if you could go in knowing that it's not going to look how you think, it's not going to go the way you think, it's not going to take the timeline you think, and that doesn't mean it's never going to work or that you're broken. The good news is I have a podcast episode of the 5 things I wish somebody who's doing IVF told me at the beginning. So we can save some time. And yeah, we will
link to that.
Yeah, I would say listen to that, because literally those are the 5 things I wish somebody told me at the beginning of IVF. And those are more specific to IVF. But I think in the general sense of trying to conceive, it's not going to go how you think or the timeline you think, but that doesn't mean it's never going to happen. And so just take a deep breath and put on your seatbelt and be ready for the ride. Clearly, I'm a coach. I support people going through it. Don't do it alone. Like, it takes a village through all this stuff. So find your people, no matter what that looks like. The second question is, how can somebody show up for a friend or family member? The first thing is, do not expect to be the one to fix it. I promise they're not looking to you for the answer. The best thing you can do is be honest and say, I don't even know what to say, but I'm here. Or I support you. You can say, this is so unfair. I hate that you're going through this. And then I would maybe not ask, how can I support you? Just do something. I actually do a public talk on 10 ways? How to be a good friend in bad times, because I've been through divorce and I've been through infertility and loss and all that stuff. And so the best thing to do is to just show up. Sometimes we get so scared and we're silent. So I would just say, saying, I'm sorry that you're going through this is enough. They're not looking for you for the answer.
Those are perfect. And I cannot wait to check out the podcast episode and the talk that you gave. Those sound like really awesome resources.
I know. Well, thank you so much, Kristin. We loved talking to you.
I'm so glad that I got to talk to you. Like, it does feel like we just scratched the surface.
I know.
And
Yeah.
I think that it's so great that you have this podcast because you are helping so many people see that they're not alone, that their stories are all so different, right? And that there are resources and tools out there and there's different ways to do it. Like everybody gets to decide what works for them. And that is so powerful and helpful. And I relied so much on podcasts when I was going through infertility. So I'm grateful that you both, with your experience, are sharing what you do. So thank you. And thanks for including me in it.
We hope you'll join us next time for more family building stories and resources. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts to make sure you never miss an episode. And follow us on social media at allpathsfb or visit our website, allpathsfb.org, for more information about our work. All Paths Family Building is so grateful to the members of our circle of support who are vital to our ability to provide emotional support, education, and advocacy that is open to anyone struggling to grow their families. Today, we want to send a shout out to our bronze sponsor, Femisys. Thank you for joining us for this episode. Please help spread the word so that anyone who is struggling to grow their family can join the conversation. It's an honor to walk with you on your family building journey.